Virginia, was it?
Yeah,
wow,
give
that's
me a few
shocking.
moments and I'll pull up the story and.
Yeah, it should still be there.
Oh, I can't spell NRA shirt. Okay, here we go.
Forgot the R, didn't you?
Yeah, I personally think that with all the school shootings that have been going on and what the media does to really, I believe, exacerbate a lot of the situations there. Yeah. I mean, personally, I just think it's ridiculous. I think that they're really trying to make examples out of things that are not to be made examples of. Having a logo on a shirt, especially the NRA, you're really picking a fight there. That's my honest opinion. I really think that they're just picking a fight.
Yeah,
West Virginia, that's where it was.
West Virginia. Here's the article, and this is from the Huffington Post, so, it's a little left-leaning, but it says Jared Markham, the 14-year-old who was arrested and suspended from school after refusing to take off an NRA shirt, is facing up to a year in jail. In April, Markham caused a furor at the West Virginia Middle School when he showed up in a shirt supporting the NRA logo, the picture of a gun, and the slogan, quote, "Protect your right." Despite being asked several times by school officials to remove the garment, Markham kept it on, saying he was not violating the school dress code and was exercising his First Amendment. Last week, he appeared in court and was officially handed a charge of obstructing an officer. According to the Logan County Police Department, he would not stop talking during the incident at the school, which prevented the attending officer from doing his job, I guess, once again, exercising his First Amendment. However, Markham's attorney told that the officer's arrest report did not mention the boy's allegedly excessive talking. He faces a $500 fine and up to a year in jail. So, yeah.
So he got in trouble for talking?
Yeah, in the initial report, they said that he was very responsive and very cooperative, but refused to remove the garment. And so now, all of a sudden, he's obstructing police officers and doing their job, and they should never have been called to the school in the first place.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
It's so absurd.
It really. It's a travesty. It's sometimes I wonder exactly what has happened to the nation of Jefferson and Madison and Adams.
Yeah.
Our founding fathers, sure.
I mean, aside from the fact that Pledge of Allegiance is being taken out of school, I mean, that's just an ongoing issue that I see. We're taking everything out of school that's so important, which is teaching kids about country and, doing right by others. I don't know. There's just a lot of unnecessary media coverage that is just, that's really pushing it.
Yeah.
I think so.
I know Odin's kind of lost because Canada has completely different laws.
We don't have the NRA. I mean, I know, I know what a powerful body it is, in terms of the states, but we don't, we don't even have like a, kind of a sister branch or anything like that. So I can't really make a comment because it's just not, we don't have anything like that.
Yeah. It sounds to me like it had more to do with the picture of the gun, so I'm kind of curious to see, in Canada, what are the, how would a school respond to a kid just wearing a regular T-shirt with a picture of a gun on it?
Yeah, probably not well. It's, I think with the active shooter thing going on down in the U.S., it's a bit of a hot button, especially at the moment. Having kids of my own, would I let them go to school with a gun on a T-shirt? Probably not. I get the First Amendment aspect in terms of the state side, so that's why I think it's a very thorny issue because it really impacts you guys down south of the border.
Right.
It really has no impact on us up here because of the stringent, gun laws and gun control. But I see both sides of it, to be brutally honest with you about it. You're going to bring, you're exercising your First Amendment rights. You're also going to bring yourself a lot of unwanted attention as a kid. You know what I mean, from the authorities and school officials. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's overlooked in so many of these tragedies is that there's a lack of parental responsibility or a lack of parental supervision. And I think you bring up a phenomenal point in being a parent and saying, that's not something that I would allow my kid to do. I do feel that a lot of the school shootings were as a result of parents really just not paying attention. And I think that the warning signs were there and they were just either ignored or overlooked. But either way, I feel like a parent would know if they were actually doing their job that what their kids are wearing to school in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm the kind of parent. Well, down here in Georgia, every kid has a uniform, at least in the county that I'm in. But I'm the kind of parent that would say, sure, you can wear that shirt to school, and then I'd go up there and yell and scream and pitch a fit until they realize my point of the argument. But it's that's just the way I am.
Well, in terms of this situation, I don't think that we're violating any of. I don't think that there's any violation. I personally think that this is ridiculous because an NRA logo. I mean, really, that's going to be the cause for you to suspend a kid and then put him in jail because he won't stop talking. I mean, really?
Yeah, that's going way too far.
Yeah. Hey, Odin, I had a question. Did Canada ever have the right to own firearms like carry and like we do down here?
So that's a great question, and I don't want to conclusively say. I would say no, but I'm sure I could be stand to be corrected if you go far enough back. We're not that old of a country, but it's not to my knowledge. But like I said, there could be some obscure time when the country was being founded without that actually was the case. But I'm not sure, Jay. I don't believe so.
All right. I know there's hunting in Canada and stuff like that, so that's why I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's concealed carry and stuff like that doesn't exist. That's not something that you can have here.
Yeah, and I can kind of relate to that. Our state is very, very stringent on rules, especially for carrying. It's almost impossible to get a carrying permit here. They make the process very difficult to register for a gun and then to get a gun purchasing permit, which I believe are all very important processes in moving forward with firearms. But here in New Jersey, I see a very distinct two groups of people. You have people who support having guns, and then you have another side of the coin, which is they believe that everyone should be unarmed, which being in a situation where I'm unable to arm myself on a day-to-day basis, I can't walk out of my house with a gun. It's kind of an interesting debate because in an ideal world, I can see why a government restricting guns would work, but that's not the world that we live in here in the States. That's not what we're here for, and that's not the rights that we have written for us. So it becomes a very complicated argument, I think, especially when I hear from guys like you in Georgia that are like, oh, yeah, I carry every single day. I can't imagine walking out of my house with a gun. I've never done that, just because it's just not something up here in New Jersey that you see every day. But it's difficult to argue with people who feel that guns should not be allowed in the States because I feel so strongly that the guns tend to fall into the hands of the wrong people. And we all say, and many of us in martial arts and the martial arts community, they go either way as well. But the ones that also believe in owning firearms, they're very particular in saying, if somebody draws a gun, no matter what martial arts training you have, you're at a loss. So that's quite a challenge that we deal with.
Yeah, it's like you're talking about getting a gun purchasing permit and then a carry permit or ownership permit. That's why everybody needs to move to the South. Everybody that wants guns, just move to the South. I'll tell you this right now. If I want a gun, I walk into my gun store. I give them my ID. I tell them what gun I want. I fill out a 4473. 30 minutes later, I'm getting in my car with my gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jay,
and if I feel
like
I can load it and put it on my hip at the same time.
You know, you brought up
there's no registration.
Another situation before regarding knives and things like that. And the one thing I do want to say from the female perspective, especially in self-defense, is that carrying a weapon that you don't know how to use is more dangerous than not carrying the weapon at all. You know, part of what they talk to us, especially in self-defense for women, and most, you know, civilians are not trained in how to use a gun, let alone how to use a knife. Don't pick up a knife, because chances are that person who's attacking you knows how to disarm you and may use it against you. So they always
that's
recommend
actually a really, really interesting point. From my standpoint, Jay and I were actually talking about this before, is that I see an enormous, like literally an ocean of material that's presented out on the web for disarming a guy with a pistol that will never work ever. I mean, ever. But it's shown as, you know, an efficient and fast way, and it's fancy and it's this and that, but it's from people that, number one, aren't gunfighters or certified pistol instructors, and they have no knowledge of how rounds chamber and you know, where the muzzle is, and even the percussive effects of what round are you talking about. Is it .223? Is it 9mm? What is it? How close do you have to be to the muzzle to take your face off? I mean, it all, as you guys know, being shooters, it matters, and it's never discussed. They have a belief, and it's a false sense of security, because you're working with a piece of plastic, whether it's a red or blue gun, thinking now you could actually disarm it with a guy who's got, you know, an automatic firearm pressed up against you. It doesn't work that way. So when we teach to the military and the police, we get into all the nomenclature and the semantics of how firearms are, you know, going to work at that kind of distance, and go over stuff with a fine-tooth comb, because you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great.
Go ahead, Victor.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, what I'm probably the apex of my gunfighting training, you know, and during my studies, we've also done disarming and, you know, defense against the brawling weapon and things like that, is force on force, live, real-time force on force with a simulated weapon that actually has some sort of ability to cause pain if you screw up the disarm or if you get in the way of the muzzle. You know, whether it's airsoft or simunitions or whatever, then that really, really, really separates the wheat from the chaff. And you'll learn real quick what does and doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. ATK makes a great product in your neck of the woods as well. That's that you can, you know, you're going to be able to field test, you know, what you're doing for tactics, and as Victor said, and that way if you get hit with a round, it's you know, it's not going to penetrate, but it's going to let you know that you screwed it up. So you're going to have to, after the first initial, you know, muscle memory kind of training with a plastic weapon, get into a way to actually test and to validate, you know, what you're teaching is true. Quantitative and qualitative, you know, ways of actually saying this works, and we could show you, can demonstrate, you know, how it works and why it works through empirical knowledge, not just your opinion. You know what I mean? I think that's important for especially the military and the police to validate it.
So absolutely, absolutely. Something else I just thought of something is you're seeing somewhat of a fusion between some of the martial arts, you know, combatives martial arts in gunfighting. And I remember, I'm not a martial artist, but I do remember being introduced to the Bikini Take-Off and using it as a launching point to move yourself into a better tactical position to overwhelm your opponent and get inside of their OODA loop for gunfighting. So do you see, as you know, the art of gunfighting and combatives evolves, that the two disciplines will start to merge and start taking the best practices of both?
Well, if you look at the modified isosceles, which most guys are using to keep their plates facing forward, but still putting them basically in that slight weaver stance, I think this fits into Victor's point about how you're blending, you know, modern CQC methodology with also being a gunfighter. And so, you know, the stance is not like the old school blading off. It's a combination, and it's incorporating the whole idea of your kit, especially your plates facing forward to give you that protection.